Global Digest, think tank for Burma and regional globally about current political issue, especially in Burma. It has been military coup for over a year, and Burma situation is still struggling. People are in the trouble and in the crisis. So today we are going to discuss uh, how policy or how to make better.
I am a peace ambassador to London Peace Research Institute.
Yes.
London Institute of Peace Research, and also a junior fellow at the Global Research Network. And recently I got a fellowship at the United Nations Association of National Capital Territory in Washington, D.C. So these are the three outlets that I work with. So in terms of issue of crisis, I think globally, because I think the world in general is in chaos now, is in crisis, especially looking at what is going on in the Ukraine and some other countries that have not even attracted international attention.
Right.
So holistically, if you want to look at it, I don't think there's no region that is not currently in one crisis or the other. We want to look at the global landscape, whether in Africa, we look at Africa, we look at Asia, but there are some conflicts that, we don't hear it at the global level, at the UN level.
Yes.
But the conflicts are claiming lives every day.
Yes.
So that's one thing I observe. When it has not reached a particular level, especially when the actors that involved in a conflict, if they don't have something like maybe they are not influential when it comes to media.
Yes.
It will be difficult for such conflicts to gain international attention. And see what is going on in a country like Nigeria, Cameroon, in Burkina Faso, Somalia. They're killing people every day. And this has been a major issue, especially for the United Nations.
Right.
Recently in my fellowship, they brought somebody from the United Nations. The man was in charge, I think, he's currently in charge of global, I think, he's a representative of United States. He's a permanent ambassador to United Nations. So I threw a question regarding all these conflicts around the world, why some gain international attention.
You have any
currently what they are doing now is to seek for donation for Ukraine.
I see.
That's what we do now. So their target is Ukraine and no other countries for now.
So they are busy with just Ukraine. They could not able to pay attention any other country.
Exactly.
See.
They seek donation from the people.
Yes.
But the one they have currently is being targeted to Ukraine.
Right now. But
right now, yeah.
So also they are advocating with the leader or the government, with the UK, European government or US government, something like that. They advocating or they dealing with them.
Yeah. LIPR is new in the system.
Yes.
You understand? It's not maybe an organization that was established for a long time, maybe 10 years or something. They are very new in the system. And
so for you, you are mainly doing research related on Africa, right?
yeah.
How many countries you are doing so far in Africa?
Yeah, more of a sub-Sahara Africa. That's my own area. Although at times I touch some other countries like South Africa, depending on the whether political trend or conflict trend. But my main area is sub-Sahara Africa, like Nigeria, Cameroon, Senegal, Burkina Faso, DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, Somalia, and some other countries like that. Region.
So the thing is, in that Africa, Cameroon, and Nigeria, sub-Saharan country, crisis is not ideology issue, right? In Africa, most I guess there is no communist or socialist left wing ideology in Africa.
Yeah, correct.
In Africa region, no ideology issue, right?
No ideology.
They don't accept communists or socialists in the whole Africa continent, right?
Yeah, correct.
No country apply the left-wing ideology, right?
No.
So, I mean, in that ideology perspective, in Africa is much better than in Asia, because in Asia, we have still a big issue with ideology. It is the clash of ideology because of China and Russia. They are leader of left-wing ideology, and it is difficult to survive liberal ideology in Asia because those big countries are still, holding, they are leading the left-wing ideology. So it's much easier in Africa. You don't have ideology problem, but you have the linguistic, ethnic problem and resource sharing problem. That's also crisis, but the crisis, nature of crisis can be different in Africa and Asia. So I mean, your case can be, it can be managed even within liberal ideology, because most the stakeholders were willing to cooperate. In terms of theoretically, they all accept liberal ideology in Africa, I guess. But
yeah,
in detail, in the process of implementation of the liberal ideology, human rights, good governance, and those federal system, those ethnic issue, resource sharing, there may be a lot of corruption, and this in the process you have more problem with in the process and in the implementation of the democracy system. But in Asia, we are more than that. Many countries are still struggling with ideology, like China, North Korea, and they are the main leader of left-wing ideology, communist countries, and they are very powerful. So the other neighboring country in the region has very struggle to build liberal democracy. Even they build many democracy, they are not able to consolidate their democracy in many Asian countries because of the surrounding those left-wing ideology. And also, there are many people among Asian country who are building democracy, and they are struggling, and they have mixed up with ideology. Even democracy, some people they claim, but their understanding is mixed with left-wing ideology, communism or socialism, because they don't have clear understanding about liberal democracy in many countries in Asia. That's why many scholars said that is flawed democracy in Asia, because it is affected by ideology in Asia. So this is the thing in Asia. So we need to build liberal democracy, very strong society, and then we should build up one by one the country to change and to support them in the region and around the world.
Looking at it at the regional level in general, I'm a researcher.
Yes.
I have done some research on conflict in Africa, especially when you look at the sub-Saharan Africa. I was able to, to understand some certain issues, especially when it comes to governance.
Yes. In which country?
Some of Cameroon, some of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
They are democratic. Recently we experienced a coup in some African countries. Right. And I think the thing, if care is not taken, it will be a kind of contagious issue. Because it will, it will start, some other countries will start looking at all these countries that military has taken over already as an exemplar.
Right.
So what I observe is governance. Let me use the case of Cameroon, for instance, as an example. There is a part of maybe you must maybe come across something like all these people, secessionists in the southern Cameroon, the Ambazonia struggle for secession. Yes. It has to do with governance, because the country operates a centralized system of government.
Okay.
And in this country, they speak two languages. They have French-speaking part, and they have English-speaking part. English-speaking part is the Anglophone Cameroon.
I see.
So, but because when a country, if you have something like that where you don't speak the same language, I think the best system of government in such an environment is federalism, where everybody, individual, each ethnic group will be able, to maintain their own culture and to even coordinate their own resources.
Yeah.
But in a situation where a particular region, they are being treated as second-class citizens. You understand all these issues of socio-cultural, economic, political, the accumulation of all these factors trigger the current crisis.
Yeah.
The region, Anglophone Cameroon, for instance, now they have dialogue with the government in the past. Oh, we want this system of government, so we will be able to have our own agenda, our local development agenda, our own representative, and they are the minority, because the French-speaking parts are the majority when it comes to, when you look at the topography of that country.
It's about linguistic problem.
Yeah. linguistic problem. So at the level of a government administrative system,
Yeah,
they prefer to use French language
I see.
rather than English.
You know,
So
in the
it's
democratic system, you know, federal system, there are right for minority language to use their own language in their own area, something like the, you know, local level and central government level. So they don't implement that, those structure.
yeah, correct. So the combination of all these problems led to the current struggle. Now they have different armed groups in southern Cameroon now fighting for the Ambazonian state.
They are fighting on based on the division of different languages.
Yeah, along ethnic, resource-wise, and some other issue like that. And that's what led to the current conflict. So, and including, okay, for instance, now I think the government has labeled them as terrorists, which cannot solve the problem.
I see.
When you label them as terrorists and you use counter-terrorism operation, you know, to subdue them, that will not solve the problem. And the same thing is going on in Nigeria, in the eastern part of the country, where where the eastern region felt somehow marginalized politically and economically.
Is there any international organization who are, you know, observing the crisis so they can say the government labeling is wrong, or they can some kind of, you know, they can find out those detailed crises? Is there any organization? Do you know that?
Yeah. Recently, I think United Nations sent delegation to southern Cameroon to come and observe the situation in general, and also they introduced something like a dialogue measure to the problem, and I think the Ambazonian Cameroon now agreed that they would like a neutral organization to be a mediator. I think what's the name of this organization in Switzerland? Something International Dialogue, something. That's the organization they prefer to mediate on their behalf. But to me, if you want to embark on a mediation, and you are still the government is still having those that were arrested, those that were championing the struggle,
yes,
they are currently in prison. You know, if I want to make peace with you, to a certain, it's supposed to be on a free level.
yes,
You release those that you have arrested, and now you can now dialogue.
yeah.
But the government failed to do that, and the thing remains static how it was before.
In your research, what kind of impact factor you found from those countries?
Yeah. Let me use this because I have one paper currently under review. The one I carried out recently on climate change.
Okay.
You know, when conflict occurs, I observe that many governments in Africa, you know, they always look at the surface of the conflict, not the root causes.
I see.
So in my research, I was able to deduce some certain issues. There is a particular place, a particular region. We call it Nigerians say middle belt. We call it North Central region of Nigeria. And this region, you know, their main occupation is agriculture.
Right.
But because, and we have another region, we call it Northeast. We have Northeast, Northwest.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria. So because of the climate change, when there is, for instance, where there is a drought, you know, all these Fulani pastoralists, you know them, that they rear cattle.
I have no idea. So.
Okay, but their main occupation is to rear animals like cattle.
Okay.
So, and they used to move from one place to another where they can see green grass for their animals to eat.
They are moving from one place to another place.
One place to another place. They are not static, not stationed in a place. For instance, they move from if there is, okay, this is a rainy season, they stay here. When it comes to dry season, they move to another place where they can see green grass. So because of the impact of the climate change, they start moving towards the middle belt of Nigeria. So for this place, their main occupation is a normal farming, planting maize, planting yams, planting different kind of crops. So in the course of, you know, there's no way, you know, animals, they are not human. When they are migrating from one place to another, whatever they see, they eat. Whatever they see, this is green, they eat. They don't know whether this is plant and this is something that we are not supposed to eat. So they do encroach on farmland. So they destroyed agricultural, they destroyed crops and some other things. And when the farmer got there, he will be angry. This is what I've been laboring for. Somebody just came and you encroach on my farmland. And
so each group have different civilization system.
Exactly.
The civilization is different. It is overlapping or is conflict each other.
It is conflicting. Is conflicting each other.
Right.
So these animal rearers, they believe in moving from one place to place. They are not stable in a place. And the other middle belts, they are stationed, have their own farmland, do their own normal business, and sell their produce to the people. But to cut the story short, that was what triggered the conflict between the farmers and herders.
Yes.
And in the course of providing solution, the government now brought a policy. They introduced a policy without consultation. You know, if you want to, as a state, you want to provide solution to a particular conflict, you have to embark on local consultation and to see, to hear from the people, the concerned people, and those that the relevant stakeholders. The government did not do that. They introduced what I would call, they introduced bottom-down policy solution. And this policy, when I look at it, I observe something. This policy favored the herders, not the farmers. Because the government was advocating that they should allocate acres of land for these animal rearers so they can be stationed in that place permanently. But the local community, the host community, consider that as a tactic to hijack their land for the pastoralist. So they rejected the policy. It caused opera in the whole country that, oh, this is a new tactic. You didn't come to our state to develop our agricultural products. Why do you have interest in somebody's business? Because it's just like, okay, they consider this, okay, animal rearing is a private business that you must have your own land, you must have your own resources to cater for the animals, not you embarking on my land.
So the policymaker are so bad, right? They are not so
Very, very bad.
They are doing deliberately, they are deliberately, they are not solving and they are not providing a good policy. That is isn't a corruption among the policymaker and the government.
Yeah, looking at that issue, I think what plays out in that arena is the issue of ethnicity, because the current president is from this animal rearing group.
I see.
You understand? So
they are doing favorism for their own
favorism and bias for their own ethnic group.
So they are not proper policy and they don't have proper regulation. It's a kind of still anarchy civilization, right?
Exactly. So people consider moving cattle, moving animal from place to place by foot is archaic.
Yeah.
Is an old practice that's not supposed to even in this contemporary era. It's not something we're supposed to be seen in our own community. If you want to rear animal, you have your own ranches. You have your own ranches and put your animals there. Nobody will complain and give them food. That's it. Not you embarking on my property.
Yes, in Africa, in the case you mentioned, is Africa problem is still you are not on the top policy issue. You are still struggling with the very baseline about civilization and culture conflict and ethnicity, each other. They are still not proper rule and regulation in the Africa. You don't have no chance to go high level policy. Still baseline is still struggling. Africa countries still have to build a lot of culture conflict to solve those things, and a lot of you need a lot of basic thing with building civilization, right?
It's not that they don't know what to do.
If the leader is not dedicated for the country, they will destroy the country. If there is a good leader who want to implement proper policy, who want to lay down proper policy, and who want to solve all this civilization, and who want to initiate basic civilization step by step, then it will be, solving the problem in sooner or later. But as you said, your African leader are not doing that thing, right? They are not.
They are not even in the part of developmental process, because the reason why I conclude like that is this: it's not that they don't know the right thing to do.
I see. They are intellectual. They have knowledge.
They are intellectual, knowledgeable, but they politicize every issue.
They deliberately doing wrong things.
Exactly. They know that we have expert people that, Harvard graduates, London School of Economics, from Oxford. They know what to do. But when they get to that political enclave, what they will be in their mind is how to continue staying in that power,
Yeah.
amass wealth,
Mm.
buying houses in abroad, you know.
There's no check and balance.
You know, I can say on a service level, there is. But deep down, there is nothing like check and balance.
It's not exist, right?
It doesn't exist. It just exists on paper. When you say, okay, because, okay, for instance, now the president at the level of a National Assembly that are supposed to be checking the executive arm.
Right.
You know, when you have the majority of party members in the parliament, even if the executive is going towards a wrong direction, you know, it's all about votes. If you support this, say hi. If you don't support, say nay.
Mm.
So, but when you have your own people, you have the majority in the parliament, it is difficult. They always, you know, follow wherever the executive is going because they belong to the same party. So that's why when everything is being politicized, so it is difficult, you know, to come out from that political dilemma.
So if the domestic system is exhausted, there is no check and balance in domestic, and there's no solution in domestic system. What about regional African Union? What role it can do to solve those problems?
They have not even met the expectation.
They
Because
also do nothing.
they do, you know, this is agglomeration of all these bad leaders.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, you have bad people in different environments, you now gather them together.
I guess maybe some African Union member are very a few maybe good, you know, some
Very few,
for
very
some
few.
who came from a good liberal democratic country who was doing sincerely for their country. I think you can
Like
mention some
Ghana.
of them, and you can.
Ghana is doing fine to a certain extent.
So
Ghana,
you cannot, the country cannot approach to those reliable country, Ghana or other reliable country. Then they can work together with those, you know, a good partner.
hey, you know the issue at the African Union level, you know, is all about democracy. Even if you want to introduce a policy, you still need to
Bad people are majority in the union.
Majority before your
So
voice
good
can
people
be
cannot
heard.
overcome.
So just like you having two or three good people among 1,000 people,
Right.
it will be difficult. It's just like that.
So at least you can do bilateral negotiation with a good country, good leader. And then if regional system is also exhausted, you have to approach international system, United Nations and other international actors like America, Europe. Is there any role they have any role to play, or they did any role they did play or not play yet?
yeah, to me, when I look at the whole issue in general, I think there is a little that the UN can play in such an environment because I observe that African problems requires a local solution.
Similar to in Burmese case, the problem is the military coup. It is because of internal factor, not external factor. Exactly. It is the military dictator and extreme Buddhist religion and overall there is a leftist ideology. Those internal factors cause the crisis in Burma and military coup. So these are internal factor. I think it's African case also internal factor, but
Yeah.
they are the different internal factors. Yeah.
So if any solution is to come, it will come from the people. If there is going to be a revolution, it's not from outsiders. It will come from the people. When they are tired and they get to a certain level, they cannot bear the governance problem anymore. Everything will be revolutionized. That's just my own view, because I know there is a limit to individual perseverance. Okay, you can persevere, you can endure some certain difficult issues, but you have your own limits. But when citizens get to that limit, they fight back. And it will be too late for the government, to suppress such a revolution.
So why they are not fighting right now? In Burmese case, people are protest and they fight back the military dictator. Still right now is over 1 year. So that Burmese people show they not agree with the military. They don't like them, so they fighting revolution inside the country. What about why not in your Africa country? They did not do any revolution among people.
Yeah, they have. That's why now you see different arms group,
but
in Africa.
The armed group, I mean, that is one factor, but overall the whole country revolution, like every city, every villages, there is no revolution like protest or campaign, but only those special armed groups, they are fighting.
Yeah, there was a case, I think it's all over international media outlets. It happened in Lagos on this same governance problem. The youth gathered themselves and they were there for like, I think 2 weeks. Even if you type it on Google, you type End SARS movement in Nigeria.
How strong armed groups?
End SARS, ENDSARS.
So how End SARS are strong? They can, they have how much capacity to fight back the regime?
Yeah,
the government regime.
They embark on a protest, and they block the road, that no government, no activities, nothing will happen within that same period. But when this state, maybe you must have heard of Lagos State in Nigeria. Have you heard anything like that before?
I'm not expert on the region.
So okay. So in that particular state, the police could not subdue this protest. So later they invited Nigerian army. So it was in the night, and they started shooting civilians, unarmed civilians, killed many people. I think the case is still before the United Nations Human Rights Council currently.
So that armed groups, that End SARS is genuinely representative of the people support them, the local people.
Exactly.
So if
people supported them,
they are representative of local people, why not regional or international community support the armed group?
The protest originated from a state. It later escalated to other states. you know. So, but the government was able to suppress this movement by using military. You know, everybody will be scared of his or her life when you see military security operative killing unarmed people. That's how they were able to, to subdue the protest, because the government has already emphasized that this thing can lead to total revolution. They have used all method or what they could do. They use bribe. They look for the key leaders in this movement. They could not find anybody. It's just like a movement that you cannot signify, oh, this is the leader. You understand?
So when all that, the armed groups, right?
No, these protests, they had no correlation, any connection with the armed group.
I see.
So armed groups, they are fighting their own cause separately. The civilian group, they were doing their own things in another direction based on their own civil way. But they are fighting for the same cause.
I mean, all these against the regime group, the civilians or a mixed group, they should combine and they should fight together against the government so they can bring success better.
Yeah, it is difficult to coordinate because, this armed group, they have separate enclave. They are not within the community. They live in the bush.
Yeah.
You understand? But the civilians operate within the cities, within the communities. You understand? So it will be difficult to, to have something like they might be fighting for the same cause, but it will be difficult, to bring them together. Armed group cannot come, these are people that Nigerian military are looking for them.
The thing is, international system, your African people should be clear position. You African people should let the international society let them know that you are the right one. The government is wrong one. You should show clearly, so that in that way international society can clearly distinguish who is wrong and who is right. Because now we don't know, we cannot, there is a diplomatic dilemma. The government will say the rebel is wrong. The rebel will say government. But you have to prove, there are many ways you can prove that you are more democratic and you are more people representative, you are more, sincere compared to the government. So your African people has to be clear position, don't be let them confuse the international society about your position. So in that way, it will be able to cooperate each other with international society. Because as you said, African Union member, most are also bad people. They are the one representing Africa, and they went to the UN, the same thing. Most African leaders, the same leader. If you say just they are bad, it is difficult to make cooperate by international society because they are representing in African Union and United Nations. So they are sitting together, unless African people can clearly show your position is right. You are uh, you are clearly democratic people, and you are clearly representing people. You want to build a good nation, then there is only a way to cooperation. You know, there should be
But I think they are
cooperation.
looking at this, the recent issue. There are published reports even on the internet by the International Human Rights Council and some other international organizations and civil societies. Oh, okay, the government, their position was they didn't kill any civilian in that protest. But the satellite image and the people that were killed, the people that they rushed to hospitals, we say have some that were able to survive that onslaught. So they use that as evidence against the Nigerian state that truly you killed civilians, unarmed civilians. And because of that, they set up panels that people that have experienced all these things should come out.
Right. It's not acceptable, you know, if the government is cheating before international society. It's not acceptable, you know. They can't keep doing like that, you know. The war everywhere is technology era, you know. They may cheat one time, two times, but not keep doing. So you have to show your position that you are the right person, the people are the right person, you are representing the right group, you are representing the right democratic system. So you have to show, if let the international society clearly know that you are the right one. Like in Burmese case, you know, international people know very well the military regime dictatorship is wrong, and ideologically also wrong, because the people are supporting democratic and people favor democracy and they are doing right thing. We clearly show international society, even we can show very clearly, but it's still international society and regional organization have reluctant to support them. They still not support Burma yet. But it doesn't mean they are not supporting. They are supporting, but they did not support very much yet. So that is the case. It's still not even, we cannot distinguish in Africa who are right one and who are wrong one. You are messed up with the government and local people and rebelling, you know, like there's some rebel are, you know, many international media also found they are also abusive. You know, some Islamic extremists are also there, you know. So we have to be clearly distinguished. You should be clearly distinguished. Then let international people recognize and let them know. So there will be the beginning to support of the civilization, democracy building in Africa. You don't have much ideology problem. You have no ideology problem.
No, we don't have ideology problem.
Those, you know, corruption and, you know, those the dictatorship and linguistic ethnic and, you know, those other things problems. So if you can try, many ways in Africa building democracy is much easier, you know, because in Burmese, in Asia, we have to struggle with those communists and, you know, leftists. They are very big issue. Even the whole world has to fight. They are still threat to the whole world, not just one country or one region. Communists,
Mm.
they also have nuclear power. China, North Korea, now Russia. How is
Yeah.
it? They are much, I mean, uh, they are much danger for the world.
Yeah.
So in Africa, you have many uh, way, many easier way you can solve it, but I don't know uh, how many people are dedicated and how many will be stand up for the movement in Africa. I think you need to
Mm.
educate as well, I guess. That is
Yeah.
important. We can share your experience, my experience, and maybe we can advocate better liberal
Yeah.
society, liberal democracy building in Africa and Asia, and we can promote better life and better civilization in those regions.